Hello students, let us see how to split the concave polygon using rotational method. So this is the second method we have in identifying the concave polygons. So here proceeding counterclockwise around the polygon edges, we shift the position of the polygon so that each vertex vk in turn is at coordinate origin. So that means if you have got a polygon like this, okay, the polygon will have a certain vertices. Okay, you are going to represent the polygon vertices, okay, represented by for example here v1 v2 v3 v4. So that is we call it in general we may call it as vk here. Okay, now what you have to do, you have to keep that each of the vertex on the coordinate origin. That means here you may have in the xy coordinate system you may have consider it as 0 comma 0. So you have to start keeping the vertex on the origin one by one. Okay, for example, first initially you may keep this v1 on the origin, and you see what are the other, how the other vertices, where are the other vertices, like this you may proceed here. So let us take in general what you have to do, we have to shift the position of the polygon so that each vertex. Okay, so here when you keep this v1 in the origin, your polygon may be the angle of rotation may be in a different manner, and it may be placed in a different way. Okay, I'll tell you how to place that on the origin with an example in the next slide. Okay, so next after v1 you may have to keep v2 on the origin, and you have to rotate, and again v3 you have to keep on the origin, and next you have to keep v4 on the origin. Like this you have to keep one by one on the origin. We rotate the polygon about the origin in clockwise direction so that the next vertex vk plus 1 is on the axis. So whenever you keep, for example, v1 on the originally on the first, initially if you are keeping on the origin, then you have to keep vk plus 1. That means v1, if you are considering vk plus 1 will be the v2 vertex, is it? So you may have to place this edge also on the x-axis. Okay, so that is the meaning here. If the following vertex vk plus 2 is below the x-axis, okay, then the polygon is concave. Suppose after keeping this vk and vk plus 1 on the x-axis, and if next vk plus 2, that is the next vertex. For example here if you are keeping v1 and v2 on x-axis, vk plus 2 will be the vertex v3 here. Okay, so that will, if that v3 lies below x-axis, then we conclude that the polygon is concave. Then what we have to do after that step, if suppose vk plus 2 is lying below x-axis, then you have to split the polygon along the x-axis to form two new polygons, and we repeat the concave test for the next new polygons you have got. Okay, so let me take one example in the next slide. So let me take one example here. I have a polygon here with vertices v1, v2, v3, v4 and v5. v4 and v5. So initially what I have to do here is, according to the rotational method, I have to choose v1 initially at the origin. So let me choose v1 initially at the origin, and the next step what I have to do here is, I have to uh, consider v2, and I have to make it to lie on the x-axis. Okay, so it is according to the shifting rotational method. We are going to shift vk plus 1 on the x-axis. See, that's why if I select v1, what is the next vertex to be selected? That is v2. Okay, so that is I am going to place v2 on the x-axis. So when I place this v2 on x-axis, your polygon will be in this manner. Okay, so next diagram, if you are seeing, suppose if you are considering x-axis here, y-axis here, so see the diagram how it looks like. Okay, so the same points you have again, v1, v2 and v3, v4, v5. Okay, so only thing is you have just placed v2 to the x-axis. So after these particular steps, what you have to understand is, observe the uh, other points or other vertex. See, all the vertices uh, other than v1 and v2, they lie all above the x-axis. Okay, so next step is what you have to do, you have to move v2 to the origin. Okay, so that time what happens, the polygon looks in this manner. See the third figure here. Okay, now suppose again v2 if I am placing, it will look, so here v1, v2, v3, v4, v5. Okay, so again repeat the step. So when you keep v1, v2 on the origin, what you have to make, vk plus 1. So vk is now v2 and vk plus 1 is v3. So you have to place v3 also on the x-axis. So here this is x and this is y. So it remains same in all the axes here and all the diagrams. Okay. So here also x-axis is this, y-axis is this. Okay. So here let me take the uh, edge that is lying on the x-axis and consider now the other vertices. See what are the other vertices you have to observe, that is v4, v5, v1. Okay, again these all vertices also lie above the x-axis. Okay, so now what you have to do, you have to go for the next vertex to be selected. The next vertex to be selected, let me take here. So v2 we have taken already to the origin. Let me take v3 and I'll start rotating the polygon now. So what happens, v3 over the origin, you have next v4, v5, v1 and v2. So now when I place v3 on the origin or the coordinate origin, I have to place v4 also on x-axis. Okay, so observe again, repeat the same procedure, observe the other points, where they are, they're all existing above the x-axis. Okay, so again start rotating the polygon. When you rotate the polygon, again see that see here, next step is you have to consider v4 to place on the origin, and then you have v5 to be placed on x-axis, and if you observe here, v1 will be lying below the, so here v1, v2, v3. See, observe now, suppose if we consider this, v4 I have placed in the origin, since I have placed V4 on the origin, I am going to place V5 also on the x-axis. So automatically what happens, V1 is being placed below the x-axis. Okay. So now what you have to do, you have to start splitting the polygon. Why? Because the other two vertices are above the x-axis. Only V1 is lying below the x-axis. So that's why I start splitting the polygon now. Okay. If I start splitting, you get one triangle here and the other polygon. So this can be drew separately using the geometry primitives, or you can say using our OpenGL. Okay, that will be easily drawn. So next, our steps are not complete. Okay, we have to go on checking for the next vertex also. So this is one edge I got here, that is edge V4 and V5 to be splitted. So note that since V1 was lying below the x-axis, I am going to consider the edge V4, V5 to be considered for splitting. Okay, so you just extend the particular line, that is V4, V5, and split the concave polygon. Okay, and next step is again, if you are considering here, place V4 is over, V5 on the origin. If you are placing V5, V1, V2, V3 you have, V4. Okay, this is how the polygon looks when you are placing V5 on the origin. So V5 is here. Okay. When you are placing V5 on the origin, so now I have placed here, you will be rotating V1 also, is it? That is V1, V5, after V5 you have V1. So automatically your V1 also will be placed on the x-axis. See which is the next vertex, that is after V1 you have to check for V2. But V2 is lying above x-axis. So here V2 is at one side, but V2 also exists above the reference line, that is this is the reference line, that is x-axis. So you need not consider this particular figure for splitting, because here the next if you are considering the previous case here, after V5 you had V1, is it? If you are checking for V1, V1 was below x-axis. Okay, so what is the condition there? If Vk plus 2, that means if I consider Vk is V4, Vk plus 1 is V5, Vk plus 2 was V1, is it? Vk plus 2 was lying below x-axis, so I started splitting the polygon, is it? But in this case, in this case, what happens? V5 I consider as Vk. Vk plus 1 is V1 now. Vk plus 2 is V2. But V2 is existing above x-axis. So now I don't, even if the other two vertices are on the other side, that means if I say here V3 is this side and V4 is below x-axis. V2 is one side, V4 is the other side. Is it? But also I don't consider for splitting this concave polygon. Only this edge I am going to split, that is I consider for splitting I consider only V4 and V5. I just extend V4, V5 and I split the concave polygon. This is how the rotational method works. So you can see that every time you are going to rotate the polygon and around the origin itself. Okay, so consider here this as the origin, x-axis, y-axis. So this is how the rotational method. Next way you have, that is splitting a convex polygon into set of triangles. Once we have a vertex list for a convex polygon, we could transform it into set of triangles. So any convex polygon can be converted to set of polygons. So first we define any sequence of three consecutive vertices to be a new polygon. The middle triangle vertex is then deleted from the original vertex list. The same procedure is applied to this modified vertex list to strip off another triangle also. We continue forming triangles in this manner until the original polygon is reduced to just three vertices, which define the last triangle in the set. Concave polygon can be divided into set of triangles using this approach, although care must be taken that the new diagonal edge formed by joining the first and third selected vertices does not cross the concave portion of the polygon, and that the three selected vertices each step form an interior angle less than 180 degree. So this is the another way of splitting the convex polygon into set of triangles. Okay, so you have to just what you have to do, you have to split the polygon into set of triangles, and these triangles can be easily drawn. uh, okay, next topic we have identifying interior and exterior region of polygon. So now let us understand, suppose you have got certain regions inside the polygon, and if you select any point inside the polygon, you have to understand whether the point lies within the polygon or it is exterior to the polygon. So there are two commonly used algorithms to find out whether the point or the line exists within the polygon or outside the polygon. There is one rule, that is odd even rule, and next rule you have non-zero winding number rule. So let us see how it works. First method we have inside outside test. It's also called as odd parity rule or even rule odd rule. What you have to do is consider here one of the example here. We have a we have to identify the interior and exterior regions of closed polyline that contain self-intersecting segments here. Okay, so draw a line from any point P. Okay, consider any point position P to a distant point outside the coordinate extents of the closed polyline. Then we count the number of line segments crossing this line. What you have to understand is, first select one of the point that is lying inside the polyline segment. Okay, and select one more point which is existing outside the polyline segments. Okay, so then we have to count how many number of intersecting lines you have. So for this you have two intersecting points. So if the number of segments crossed by this line is odd, then P is considered to be interior point, otherwise it will be an exterior point. So in this case you consider, here you have one point here, intersecting point, and the point here. So it's even. So if it is even, we consider it the point is exterior point. Similarly, another point, let me select here. See, select a point that is existing here. Okay, and select one more point outside this figure. Okay, now where are the intersecting points? You have one over here, another here. Is it? So you have again two intersecting points. Is it? This intersecting points means it is joining this particular line segment here at this particular point. So now for this line segment you have total number of two intersecting points. So 2 means it's even. Even means the point is exterior, you say. So these two line segments, if you're considering, it's the point initially whatever you consider is lying exterior points you are going to consider. Okay, so next example, let me take here. Consider one point here that's lying here. See the point here, and one more point I'm selecting outside. Okay, so join that line segment. Okay, it intercept at a particular point, that is it's joining the edge CB at a particular point. So it's joining only one or intersecting at only one point. So that means only one. Okay, one point you have got here, is it? So that is at this position. One means odd. Odd, if you are saying, you have to consider that the point lies, the initial point whatever you consider here, that lies inside the polyline segment, is it? So you have here two examples. So first is this, second you have here a considered point here, and third point it is interior. So we can use this procedure, for example, to fill the interior region between the two concentric circles or two concentric polygons with specified colors. So this is applied to fill the particular polygons with specified colors. One more method to identify whether the point lies within the polygon boundary or outside the polygon boundary. So let us have a look into this. So this method is called non-zero winding number rule. So you know what do you mean by winding. So this is another method to find out whether the point lies inside the particular polygon boundary or it's outside the boundary. Okay, so here this counts the number of times that the boundary of an object winds around the particular point in the counterclockwise direction, termed as winding number. So here the method is different from the previous kind of method. So here we are going to write the directions for each of the edges. Okay, this is a difference here. So take here initially the winding number to 0, and again imagining the line drawn from any position P to a distant point beyond the coordinate extents of the object. So what you have to do, the procedure here is first you will be initialized with the winding number, and you are going to write the winding number as 0 initially. Suppose if you are considering here one point that is existing inside the particular or in you have a polygon boundary already. Okay, suppose I take a point over in this particular position, and before starting the procedure, this is a non-zero winding number rule procedure. Okay, so you have to initialize the winding number to 0, and then you have to count where the intersection points, how many intersection points you have. Okay, so that is with the edges how many times it's going to intersect. So the line we choose must not pass through any endpoint coordinates. As we move along the line from position P to the distance point P, we count the number of object line segments that cross the reference line in each direction. We add 1 to the winding number every time we intersect a segment that crosses the line in the direction from right to left, and we subtract 1 every time we intersect a line segment from left to right. So along with this, you have to consider one more direction. So you have here particularly two directions that is mentioned, that is, see here, one direction is right to, if you are moving from right to left, you are going to add. So here you are going to add number 1 to the winding number. So if it is the initial winding number is 0, then you are going to add 1 if the direction of the uh, line segment whatever you have chosen is right to left. Okay, that is one point, and we subtract 1 from from the given value. Okay, if the line segment that crosses from left to right. Okay, if you, that is the two conditions we have. One is, see, remember, if you are going from right to left, you are going to add a number. If you are moving, your line segment is moving from left to right, then also you are going to have a subtraction, that is -1. Along with this, one more condition you remember, that if suppose your line segment is going from bottom to top, say bottom to top, then also you'll be having to add 1. Okay, if it is going from top to bottom, then you are going to subtract it by 1. So this is a condition, two conditions we have. Okay, based on this, you are going to calculate the winding number, and you are going to decide whether the point lies inside the polyline segment or outside. So if suppose the winding number is non-zero, and after the calculation, suppose the winding number is non-zero, then you are going to consider it as the point is interior. Okay, if suppose the winding number after calculation, if you are getting the winding number as 0, then you are deciding as the point is existing exterior, that means outside the polyline segment or the boundary. Okay, so this is a rule. Let me take one example and I'll show that how to calculate non-zero winding number. Consider the polygon and initialize the vertices here. So if you have AB, that are the direction for AB, so initially start from A, position A, and start writing the direction. AB direction, then BC, CD, DE, EF, FG, and GA. So this is the directions we have written for doing the problem in the case of non-winding road. So after this procedure, what you have to do, you have to select one point, any point you can say. I will take here point P1. Okay, P1 exists here, and select one more point that is outside the polygon, and I will join the 2 points now. Okay, that is, one is inside and it's outside. So after joining, you get 2 intersecting points, that is, it is going to intersect at CD, so AB, is it? It is intersecting at AB and CD. Okay, AB, if you are considering, it is moving from top to bottom, and CD, if you are considering, it is moving from bottom to top, is it? So top to bottom means winding number is -1. Bottom to top means winding number is +1. So let me take the calculation for point P1. So initially, if you are saying for P1, point P1, the winding number is 0, and when you add the edge AB's winding number, so it is intersecting at that particular point, so that's why it becomes -1, and again the line segment intersects at CD, so the winding number becomes there for that particular CD, it's +1. So what happens, there are no other points intersecting. I stop here the procedure, and finally I calculate it, it is equal to 0. So according to the non-winding rule, if the points winding number is 0, you consider the 0 means you are considering that the point is existing exterior to the polygon. Okay, and second point, let me take. I'm going to consider next point, that is I'll represent with P2. Okay, another point I will consider outside the polygon, and I join the line segment. The line segment intersects at exactly two edges. Okay, one edge is, so let me take the problem for point P2. Okay, so this is first edge, you can say here it is CB. Okay, CB, it's intersecting to CB, and one more edge is FG. Okay, only two edges. So that's why CB, if you are seeing the direction, if you are seeing, it's moving from bottom to top, bottom to top. FG also, if you are seeing, it's also moving from bottom to top, is it? Bottom to top, both the cases. So that's why you consider winding number as -1. Okay, then calculate the winding number now for P2. Initially it will be 0. When you add the winding number for CB, it is -1. FG, it is again -1, so it becomes -2. -2, the final winding number is -2. So that is non-zero. Non-zero, is it? So non-zero, if you are getting, it is meaning that the point is lying interior to the polygon. Okay, so this is the rule. So you found that P1 is existing exterior to the polygon, P2 is existing interior to the polygon.